show. I'm Lindsay.
I'm
Lindsay.
Randy.
Yes, this is Randy. um,
No.
and hi, welcome, hello.
Hey, it's
Welcome
been
to
a
our
while,
show. It's been a while.
but I'm ready for today. It's gonna be fun.
Yes. So, here's what we're talking about, guys. Are you tired?
Oh, woo. I'm tired.
And what are you tired of?
Ooh, Jesus. This is a good one. I wonder if they're gonna get this one.
Well, there are all
Maybe
types of
you
ways
know what? I think
to
we're
be
gonna
tired.
wake people up
I hope so.
from being tired.
From being tired.
Yeah, because I feel like we're tired from the need for things, and it's not really a need. It's really a want. It's really when I look at things, and when I talk about things, I talk about things that you could. I look back. Let me stop. I go back 25 years, and I say, how was my quality of life back then before all the things? I felt like I had a better quality of life.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, I may not have had a higher financial quality of life, but that when I say quality of life, I'm talking about Saturday morning quality.
But also, what you're saying, there's a lot of truth to that because think about how many people talk about how much fun they had when they were broke, or how much better their life was when they were broke, or how much less stress or things that they had on their plate when they had less. Because when we have less, there's less to maintain.
Yes.
We don't even consider having more because we're just trying to provide what we need.
So I got the question. Do you believe, because this I do believe, I believe once our financial bracket gets higher, that we are not satisfying self, we're satisfying the onlookers.
Yes.
Stop satisfying the onlookers.
Yeah, it's not about
Satisfy
that.
yourself. Now, if you 10,000 square feet home makes you happy, and it doesn't matter what anybody looks at and sees, by all means get the 10,000. But don't buy it to live like the Joneses.
Well, I, on the inside, am a dad, and I think every single time that I see it's 10,000 square foot house, I think to myself, how much is their electric bill?
I think the same way.
And
Who's
there
gonna
are
clean this thing?
yes, that too. And it's funny. My husband and I, when we first had our son, we were looking at houses, and our realtor kept showing us very large homes, not quite 10,000 square feet because that's not how our life is set up. But honestly, anything over 3,000 square feet to me was absurd because there's only three of us, and the three people in my family don't need their own 1,000 square feet.
Understood. Even after your son becomes a young man, he still doesn't need that much.
Well, no,
more.
he actually probably needs less because he needs to be surveilled.
I got you.
So, and so I guess what we're finding is less is more. But what you're referring to, and I think economists use this term, what they call lifestyle creep.
There you go.
And usually, the more that we obtain financially, we'll start to spend more,
Yes.
or we'll start having more expensive tastes in things. And so we are, in turn, not necessarily saving or putting more away as much as we are funding the fun
Yes.
of the lifestyle. And so I think that that's what makes a lot of people tired. So I agree. I think that the other part is that a lot of people are just mentally and emotionally tired.
Yeah. Oh God. But you know, the mental and emotional tired comes from funding the flashy instead of funding the future.
Very true.
Stop funding the flashy. You know, I like to look at things in the terms of time of the day. We have 24 hours in a day. You know, if the atypical person is going to work 8, going to sleep 8.
Yeah.
How are you going to cherish the other 8? Are you going to cherish the other 8 by funding the flashy or enjoying the time that you have that moves you into the future? Nobody really enjoys that time. That's why I like to go backwards 25 years. Before the things, you had no choice. Like we were talking about it earlier. We would be playing a video game as a kid back in the day, and we would want to go outside and beat a video game. I didn't want to play it. I want to beat a video game.
Yes, the imagination was active.
You know, I remember He-Man, Masters of the Universe.
Oh, yeah.
We used to trade the little figures. You know, I have Skeletor. You have this guy. We would trade them, and then we would go out in the dirt, and now I'm him. And we would do that for hours on end.
Imaginative play.
Oh. We got to start teaching our kids what imagination is. You know, my kids could concur to this. I remember, first of all, my kids have only had a cell phone less than a year. Had
Wow.
14 and 15.
Okay.
And
So I'm tracking in the right direction because I told my child he could have one when he was 16.
yes, and the only reason why we started so early is because of with the work that we do.
Oh, yeah,
we
absolutely.
needed to make sure, and then of course at the same time, you know, in the real world, you know, back in the day, you just leave your kids at home.
Forget leave at home. Like we were all latchkey kids, right? So they're already gone by the time we got home. Like we weren't
Exactly.
left at home. We were just
It was
on
no
our own.
fear, but see, we have fear now.
Yes.
So you have to give them a way to communicate outside, because most people don't. I do have a house phone, but I am probably a unicorn. Most people don't have house phones.
We do not have a house phone. Also, because I don't want you to contact me unless I want to speak to you, and I'm pretty sure that you could have a house phone on silent, but I'm also not technologically sound.
You're not trying to figure that part
So I'm not
out.
trying to figure that out. So no, I don't have a house phone.
So yeah, so you got like now. So I used to always like. I feel like my kids now are authors and artists.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that it's because we pushed being creative through the imagination when they were young.
Yes.
We pushed that. Remember, the first time we took them to New York, they wanted to go to the Lego store.
Awesome.
And when I got there, they were, I think, 6 and 7 at the time. So I took them to the one where the Legos were about like this big, you know,
Yes.
like cinder blocks.
Yes.
And they were like, no.
They're like, we need the small Legos
They
that we
want
can
to get
actually
ones
do.
like this big. I was like, y'all brains are not big enough for that. Within 2 hours of being back at the hotel, they were creating spaceships. I was like, how did you do it? It was like, they see it. Mm-hmm. We got to implement more of that into our kids.
Absolutely.
Because these are the future architects. These are the future politicians. These are the future carpenters, the future
Yes.
car builders. If you don't create an imaginative mindset,
It's
how can they be creative individuals?
It's damn near impossible.
I believe it's almost 100% impossible.
But we also have to create space and time for that, and that's what's really important. Again, like just to circle back to our topic of being tired, I think that everyone has a tendency to overschedule or overstretch themselves, and do a lot of schedule stacking where they don't allot enough white space on their calendar. I know that we've talked about this before too, and so if your day is thing after thing after thing, and then you finally land at home, you are tired because you want to turn your brain off. And so, but then a lot of people feel very guilty about taking that time because they think that if they're not being productive, if they're not doing something, that they are being lazy or they're wasting time. And when in reality, we need to make time to rest.
Wow. So
And-
can you rest in the midst of occupying your time?
Sure. I mean, for instance, my husband makes fun of me all the time because I will read a whole book in a day.
I think we just talked about that.
Yes, we just talked about that. So I'll read a whole book in one book, one sitting. And so to me, I'm resting because it's what I enjoy doing. I'm usually lounging while I'm reading.
While you're doing it.
While I'm reading my book. I'm very intentional in terms of not using audiobooks. And I'm not anti-audiobook because I think that it's really helpful for a lot of
got you.
people, but I can't consume that way because I'll multitask because
It makes it easy to do something different.
But when you're talking about imagination, I can read and I'm visualizing and all of those types of things. And so I'm not doing anything productive. I tell people all the time, I kind of avoid professional reading. So I don't typically do like self-help or psychology or what have you. And I do my own research during my work time, not during my off time. But this weekend, I read the Britney Spears. Yeah, I read the Britney Spears book, and it was great because I love Britney Spears. And so when we look at that, I wasn't doing anything like reading the Britney Spears book isn't going to like bring me anything in terms of like profession or wealth or whatever. But I enjoyed that downtime. It was a moment for me to kind of have my brain on/off, where I didn't have to think about the official business of my life or my family or any of those types of things. I could just read.
So let me ask you a question. You got me, man. Parenting, first of all, parenting and being an adult
Is an extreme sport.
Oh
You need
my!
a helmet.
Oh God! X Games times 3.
Yeah.
So this is the question I have for you. This is parent to parent, and I'll tell you the struggle that me and my wife sometimes have. So we're tired physically and mentally at times. So it's been, Monday through Friday. We get to a Saturday or Sunday, and it's like we haven't did anything per se with the kids. Why now in today's time the guilt comes about if you don't leave the house?
Well,
does that make any sense?
oh
What I'm
yeah, it
asking?
makes perfect sense, and it speaks to my point where we think in terms of productivity, right?
Yes.
And so if we didn't leave the house, then we feel like that we're lazy, we didn't do anything, and we're not being productive. And then parenting in present day feels very competitive almost, where it's like my child's doing the most enriching, best,
Yes.
blah blah blah, and we went to the pumpkin patch and we went to the museum and we did this and blah, and and don't get me wrong, I'm guilty of it too sometimes, but really and truly, like, just because we were at home with our child doesn't mean we didn't do anything with our child, because we were with him. And what he learned, and I'll use yesterday as an example,
yes,
and we were talking about this earlier as well, but my son came to my husband and I yesterday and he's like, what are we doing? Are we going on an outing today? and my husband and I were like, no. And he was just like, well, why not? What are we going to do today? And we're like, we're going to enjoy our home today. Like, we're going to enjoy the backyard.
Oh, yes.
You can watch TV. You can play. We're going to do this, blah, blah, like at the house, because he needs to learn to rest. And unless we model that for him, he's going to think that he always needs to be going as well. And then he's going to be perpetually tired.
You see how she went back to the lesson of be the example. I like this, because that's technically what you're saying is you can't expect generations after you to just know how to do it if you don't teach them. And I think that's why I like to reflect on my past when there was no other option.
Yeah.
And people say, man, do you just want us to live old? No, I'm trying to tell you where I knew I was happiest.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I am a very happy man.
Yeah.
But I'm speaking of dormant time.
Yeah. Or even, so I'm going to shift your language just a little bit and tell me if this,
Go for it.
if this
Go
works
for
for
it.
you.
I love this part of it.
Instead of happier, carefree.
I love it. There it is. There it is.
Less stress.
Perfect. Less stress. Less stress. Because, people don't think about the stress of, first of all, you're tired. You've been working. Just say you've worked 40 hours. You're tired. You're just tired.
Yeah.
Because you've been battling see, that's the thing people don't understand. You've been battling other people's problems. You only have a little bit of time for what you have to deal with. Then we decide to get in the car and go somewhere where the energy is all over the place, because we got another 150 people that are dealing with the same stress you're dealing with.
Everyone's tired.
Everybody's tired. When you could easily just go outside and enjoy the grass.
Yeah.
Do you know how special that is to be able to say, I think I'm going to sit outside? Me and my wife sat outside last night. It was about 45 minutes. We really didn't talk about much.
No.
But we enjoyed peace.
Yes.
And we enjoyed peace. We enjoyed a fire and light conversation. At times she did what she wanted to do. I did what I want. But we were together. Please,
And that's time well spent.
Please, if you want to preserve your home, and I'm speaking of the people within,
Yes.
learn how to take advantage. Don't take for granted the little bit of free time that you have, because
It's minuscule.
it's little.
Yeah.
It's little. We can't tell you how not to be tired, but we can tell you how to enjoy your time within the midst of being tired.
Yeah.
Because I wish I could. The only way I know to be tired, Lindsay, be honest with you, not tired. I'm gonna be debt free. But when I say debt free, I mean nothing.
Yeah.
I got enough stuff on my land. I'm self-preserved.
Yes, exactly.
So
Homesteading.
homesteading, so that I don't need things outside of my comfort. And people say that's not realistic. We used to live that way without wanting to.
So, suggestion, because the wheels are turning. Here's how to be less tired.
Give me the formula, please.
My husband and I speak to this a lot. We live below our means.
Interesting.
We live well below our means.
Interesting. Now, I gotta ask you the $1 million question.
Yes.
I want the why.
We don't have $1 million.
I want the why. I want the why.
Because one, we don't need it.
Okay.
just
Well,
car
and when
pay-
you say needed, you don't need the extra things.
we don't need the extra things, and these are hard earned lessons because there was a time that we were living either on the limit or outside of the limit, and that shit wasn't cute. And so
America.
and it wasn't cute. And there are a couple of things at play. One, we are children of the 80s and 90s, where thanks Bill Clinton, the economy was amazing, and so we lived well with our parents.
I'm with you.
We graduated from college during the Great Recession. Also not cute because people weren't hiring. The people who were hiring at rates that were just
below standard.
Like, I had a master's degree and they were paying me half of what it costed me to get my master's degree after. So I mean, they were just.
That's not how it's supposed to work.
That's not how it's supposed to work. But that's another conversation for another day. And so we were just living on the edge, and then when we got to a position professionally that we didn't have to do that anymore, he and I both were just like, we can do these things. And I mean, like mortgage companies and car loan companies and credit companies, they'll loan you whatever. I remember when we bought our home that you can get loaned up to 5 times your household income.
Does that make you know what? I'm gonna jump in here because we don't stop now. This may have to be a 2-part because there's no need to stop this conversation because of time.
No,
because this tire.
This is actually just gonna. Actually, I've decided it's gonna be a little bit longer.
Yes.
But they will loan you up to 5 times.
Oh my.
Your gross.
That is
not even
net.
Not even your net. Your gross.
This is insane.
Household income. And so we're looking at these houses, and I told you guys, like, the realtor showed us this and that, and I was like, 1, we don't need all this space. 2, if I purchase this home and I do the mortgage breakdown, if you come to my house, I'm gonna be like, well, we are serving Vienna sausages. and please don't turn on the lights.
Don't turn the lights on. I think if you can aim, do not turn the lights on in the bathroom. That's why we have cell phones for flashlights.
Also, my child, who's a year and a half, is wearing 6-month clothing because we can't afford to purchase him new Cat and Jacks from Target because that's where we shop almost exclusively. Shout out to Cat and Jacks and Old Navy because that's where his clothes come from, because he needs a new wardrobe every 3 to 6 months. And so for us, it was just like, it was this light bulb moment, especially once we were doing the mortgage thing, where I was like, we don't need all this shit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need a new outfit
every day
or every time that we go somewhere. My child does not need the newest, most expensive, best children's clothing because then they grow out of it in 2 weeks. And then once they start walking and talking, they destroy clothes anyway. So there really is no point.
That doesn't stop as a child, because I must be a big kid, because I'm the type of person that I could have on a $300 pair of shoes. But if my wife or kids need me to do something, I don't think about that anymore.
No.
One thing that we noticed, and this is something to reflect on what you just said, which makes a lot of sense. We went out to dinner this past weekend, and you realize nobody pays attention to you? They're paying attention to what they're doing. But we have a lot of people that are thinking about the onlookers.
And so
sometimes there aren't even onlookers in the room.
Well, there's psychology for that.
Yeah. I love it.
So let's talk about that. It's referred to as the imaginary audience. And we develop this awareness of what our peers think of us during adolescence.
Wow.
Now, what usually happens as our brain starts to develop more in late adolescence and early adulthood, that noise turns down some.
Really?
Of the imaginary audience, but it doesn't turn down all the way. And so that imaginary audience is that, like, think back to middle school.
Okay.
And you have a pimple on your face.
Yeah. Oh, this is a good one. Yeah.
And no one notices it. But you think that it's like this giant erupting,
Like
talking
this.
volcano.
It's like a tumor.
Yes. On your face, and you're just like, oh my god. Like, anybody who looks at you, you're just like, you're looking at this pimple.
Yes.
Or you start to announce it, you're just like, I know I have this pimple on my face. But because of how we live in society, in modern day society, and we talk about social media a lot, and I'm sorry, try not to harp on this.
And so be honest
But
about it.
really and truly, when we're posting, we're not posting a lot of the time for ourselves as much as we're posting for other people's attention, approval,
Yes.
so on and so forth. And so we're bringing that imaginary audience into our home, into our phone, into our screens, and so
Man,
we're much more
you
aware
got
and
my wheels
self-critical, which again contributes to the tired. Because imagine the images that we're trying to curate and put out there, and then we put it out there and we're like, did it get likes? Did it get comments? What are people thinking? What are people saying? And so we're bringing that into our home as adults.
Man.
Sorry.
No, you got my brain. It's first of all, you have to understand where my mind is right now.
Yeah.
I'm in a place where I'm really trying to not only find the peace for myself, but to help others find the peace.
Yes. That's why we're doing this.
And I'm seeing the distraction in real time now, because as you were speaking, I was asking myself. I went back to one day of the week when nobody had anything to do. Mm-hmm. That one day where you wake up and you're like, babe, what do you have to do? I'm off there. I have nothing. I don't have any clients. Mm-hmm. Blake, what do you want to do? Whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
The distraction is the fact that we're trying to please a device. Mm-hmm. Take the device away, and now you're going, not what do you have to do, but what are we going to do?
What are we going to do?
And that's the question that people aren't asked anymore. Mm-hmm. What are we going to do? Not where are we going? Mm-hmm. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
We've done all the things that are required of us. Mm-hmm. And do you not know that an ideal day for me started before we started the podcast today? I had good friends come over to my home.
We're the good friends. It's us.
We had non-planned food to eat. Mm-hmm. And quality conversation without obligation.
Yeah.
If people could take that moment in time and reciprocate it, we just did it last week, where we literally just had good conversation.
Yeah,
and
like
you know what?
Dinner.
We changed our plans in the midst of the plans, and nobody was complaining. Yeah. This is the way I believe the world should be.
Yes.
And we may not ever not be tired, Lindsay, but we'll be less stressed.
Yes.
And the number one killer, no matter how you look at it.
Oh, it's stress.
Stress.
People talk about the mind-body connection, like they're housed in different places, and your mind and your body are housed in the same place. And so if you're stressed up here, your body's stressed down here.
Man, see, y'all don't understand. See, people don't understand. They say, Coach, how do you do it? Because she carries something that I will never possess. And that's that knowledge from the psychological side of the picture. And it's amazing how when you get, it's like a happy marriage.
Yep.
You got this man and you got this woman, two different ways of thinking, but if they can figure out how to bring it together, their situation is going to be amazing.
Oh yeah.
And I'm fortunate to be in one of those situations.
Yes.
And so is she.
They're
So
awesome.
when you can, I feel like the one way that I relieve my tired is by focusing on my three, my wife and my two daughters, and it's out and not just. And I try not to occupy the time with things that just make them happy for the moment.
Yeah.
I try to think of those. Y'all know me. I'm all over the place. I might start one way and end somewhere. But as my brain begins to work, the one thing that we're forgetting about?
What?
Memories.
Yep.
Nobody's making any more memories.
Oh no, because they're posting the memories.
Because they're posting the memories. It's so, and I think my wife will mind this. She was doing something for herself business wise, and I was doing a daddy-daughter day. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, I was like, we're going to Hallmark. And they were like, why? I was like, because this is that moment in time where my wife needs to understand how her daughters feel about her. Mm-hmm. And so they got her this card, big old card. And
I know exactly what you're talking. They're like 3 feet.
Yes, and they spilled it out themselves, and they gave it to her. And guess how I could have ruined the moment, people? I could have said, wait! You got the phone.
Yes.
Go live.
Yeah.
It's not about that. It was about that moment as a mom. You're a
Yeah.
mom.
Oh yeah.
So when Blake does something special, like just comes to you and says, "Mom, you're pretty," you don't need to post that.
No.
Your heart is what needs to feel that. So to allow them that moment of their time
Yeah.
was the most amazing moment. That moment, in the midst of being tired to the highest level, you get that sense of relief at that moment.
Yes.
You know, it's so many. And what I'm getting at is, stop worrying about what you can't control.
Yeah.
But what you can't control is your moment.
Yes.
Your moment.
Yes.
Rest within your moment. I tell people, they said, "Man, you're gonna die one day." I said, "One day,"
Yeah.
and I'm gonna rest then. Here, my mind's never gonna stop running. It's never gonna
Yeah.
stop. But I can rest this part of my body by just sitting down and
Somewhere.
enjoying the things that
Yes.
are around me.
Absolutely.
Enjoying them. Enjoying them. Well,
Well,
we have stretched this one
we've
long enough.
covered a lot of topics, but hopefully you enjoyed. And so let's wrap it up. You got nothing to prove. To
Oh,
anybody.
nothing to prove.
You don't have to be productive all the time, and rest. And it doesn't mean that you're never going to be tired again, but you don't have to be as tired.
And I'm gonna tell you one last thing. Don't try to sleep your day away to avoid not doing something. Help those around you to learn how to occupy their time productively without giving it away to somebody else.